Okay, sorry about that. We had some interruption from the gods or whoever controls all of this. What I was sharing here was that one of the important things. Where was I, Richard? What was I talking about? Okay. So I was talking about the fact that we have this history from the time the vaccine program was implemented in 1962. The assumption was that we as a people were going to allow scientists, these highly trained people, to help us make decisions. But the assumption was that they were disinterested third parties. That's one thing I talked about. The second thing I talked about was that the Trump election really threw a major bomb into the establishment of both parties, the GOP establishment as well as the Democrat establishment and that of the deep state elites. They didn't expect him to win. And forget about Trump as an individual, whatever biases you have, but his win was a historic win because it was really an expression of the needs of the American worker. But his win caught off guard the very insidious people who think they know better. You see? The same attitude of these scientists, the academics who think they know better, it also caught the elites off, people like the Obamas and the Clintons and the insidious people like Bill Maher. So what I was sharing was, in August of 2019, people like Bill Maher were openly saying we need to crash the economy. Think about that. Just think about that. Here's a guy who has access to millions of viewers saying that we need to crash the U.S. economy, that it was worth to destroy the economy of the United States to get out Trump. And what does that really mean? So really think about what's being said there. What is actually being said there is we are willing to annihilate the U.S. economy of the American workers, of a rightful progressive nationalism which was taking place because it didn't meet the agenda of the global imperialists, global capitalism, which really wanted to outsource everything. In fact, because they don't really care about workers, be it in the Russian worker or the Indian worker or the American worker. What they care about is the fact that they can control narratives across the world, and this is what a guy like Bill Gates is concerned about. This is what the Obamas are interested in. This is what the Clintons are interested in organizations like Clinton Global Initiative, or people like Bill Maher, who is essentially a lackey of the deep state. He's basically a big mouthpiece of the deep state. So a guy like that was saying that in August 2019. So you have that going on. You also have worldwide dissent taking place. In Hong Kong, there's a movement for freedom. In Wuhan, among the Chinese working people, there was a huge movement. Since 2007, Chinese people are saying they're tired of all the pollution. They want the Chinese Communist Party to clean up the pollution. China itself was being massively polluted because the Paris Accords actually encourages China to pollute and pollute and pollute. Okay? That's what was going on. In Wuhan itself, go look at it 6 months ago, there was massive demonstrations. The Chinese people were willing to risk their own lives to get shot and beaten and jailed because the Chinese government in Wuhan was going to put a massive incinerator plant which was going to pollute the hell out of those people. And those protests were brutally, handcuffed and brutally put down. And we never hear about them. And then boom, we hear coronavirus. Okay? So what is the coronavirus? And for that matter, what are viruses? Well, you're talking to someone who has 4 degrees from MIT. I busted my butt since I was a kid studying science. I also played baseball and other things, but I study science. I do my work. It's a lot to get a PhD at MIT, okay? 50% of the people don't even pass their qualifying exams. So I happen to be very fortunate. I got to go there, get a bunch of degrees. I started companies. But every day since I get up, at 5 in the morning, I'm still a full-time scientist. I study the immune system nearly every day. My company, Cytosolve, has a technology that understands molecular pathways. We help other organizations who want to really create healthy products. In fact, even if there are pharma companies who want to look at toxicity, many of them don't, we help them figure that out, okay? But my goal is to create things that are safer, eliminate animal testing, and we create a very powerful technology. So what I'm trying to share with you is this is something I study day in and day out, in addition to, by the way, out there collecting signatures to run for Senate, okay? But the real issue here is that We have probably around 30 trillion viruses within us. The virome, phages, which control bacteria. We have probably another, a multi-trillion bacteria within us. So the microbiome and the virome are part of us. Every time I shake someone's hand, I'm probably passing on 10,000 viruses to them. Okay? So, why is there so much fear around this? You've seen the numbers on the flu, flu, I think 20 million people, 26 million people got the flu, okay? 0.1% of them were fatal and others were critical, okay? The nature around us is constantly creating viruses. We're not going to eliminate them. And the issue is we as the 7 billion people in this ecosystem and our immune systems are constantly battling viruses. Some people have stronger immune systems. Some people are weaker immune systems. And this is just the nature of things, okay? And there's a spectrum of immune health. Some of you can, I grew up in India playing in dirt. I probably have a pretty good immune system. I didn't get that many vaccines. Other people grew up in these little sanitary bubbles. And you probably need to vaccinate them and titrate them slowly before you introduce them to the outside environment. My point is, it's one size does not fit all. And that's why healthcare, when it comes to medical interventions, should not be top-down dictated from the state or the freaking CDC. It should be between you and your healthcare provider, decentralized. That's really the solution for healthcare, not this top-down model. What we are witnessing right before our very eyes is the state thinking that it knows better. And this has been the dialectic between what the Trump movement represented. People saying, look, I'm a worker. I get up in the morning. I make thousands of decisions for myself. I know how to take care of myself. I don't need Elizabeth Warren. I don't need Barack Obama. I don't need Mitt Romney telling me what to do in designing policy. I work for a living. Let me figure out my own way and let me live by the sword and die by the sword. That is the concept of a free human being. What they want what they believe is they know better. Frankly, I know you know better. And this is what we're witnessing right before our very eyes. People like Bill Maher hate the fact that the American workers said F you to people like him and they directly voted for someone like Donald Trump. They weren't moved by BSMSM 20. That's a real virus. Bullshit. Mainstream media, be it the Tucker Carlsons, be it whoever it is, be it the left-wing media, CNN, all these people thinking they're so smart that they own mainstream media channels and they're going to sometimes act all intelligent, but they never really tell the real truth because they just want to get eyeballs because they all have pharmaceutical major clients. All of this is about eyeballs. That's bullshit mainstream media. The other part you have is bullshit science, BSSCI, be it institutions like MIT, be it institutions like Harvard, Yale. All of these institutions have been compromised. That goes back to my first point. The scientific institutions are no longer disinterested third parties. Let me repeat again. John Kennedy, I believe he was a very sincere human being, and that's why I believe he was taken out by the deep state because he didn't serve their interests anymore. I'm not talking about the current Kennedys, Joe Kennedy, the guy I'm running against who's a complete idiot, Bobby Kennedy, controlled opposition, Ted Kennedy, God knows what the hell he was. He killed people and he got away with it. The modern Kennedys do not represent John Kennedy. John Kennedy was a stellar human being. And he warned us that these scientists, we assume that they were disinterested third parties. They're not disinterested third parties. The academics in all these major institutions, I would say, conservatively, 2/3 of them all need to be arrested and thrown in jail. Because all of them are out there not doing science, they're doing scientific consensus to get grant money, to get grant money, to get grant money. Massive egos think they know everything, and frankly, they're second or third rate scientists. Since the 1970 passage of the Mansfield Amendment, we've had a complete destruction of science in this country. It has gone from the scientific method to scientific consensus. And you're looking at someone who went in and out of MIT. I used to teach there. I know these guys. They are massive ego maniacs. They're not that great scientists. They thrive on getting grant money, getting grant money, getting grant money. That's what I call BSSCI, bullshit science. So the science that we have for understanding the immune system that's used for vaccines is literally 50 to 100 years old. And you don't need to believe me. You can in fact go read even papers that are written under systems immunology, which says that we need to upgrade the entire understanding of the immune system. And that's what I do for a living. So what I'm trying to tell you is right now, we're in a very, very dangerous situation. And the dangerous situation is, who are you going to trust? Are you going to trust some tweeter who has no idea of science, who wants to get eyeballs? Are you going to trust a guy like Tucker Carlson, who has his own interests? Are you going to trust, people out there, these scientists who are connected to the CDC? And what I would argue is that you need to trust your own common sense and go back to fundamental, simple principles, how nature operates. And I just want to remind you of that. I'm not here to convince you or move you in any direction. I'm really here to remind you of something that's basically truth. The truth is everything in nature is designed to be a resilient system. And non-resilient systems die off. Okay? A resilient system is something that can take a hit and come back stronger. Take a hit and come back stronger. We were designed to be resilient systems, which means we're supposed to experience stress and not run away like little scared, rats or something. We're supposed to take the stress, absorb it, and learn how to react and get stronger. Our immune system was designed to take on a stress, pathogens, and viruses. We got 30 trillion of them. And come back stronger. Now, that process is called the immune system, which I've shared before. You can find a whiteboard on it that I've done, where you have the innate system, the adaptive system, the interferon system, or gut microbiome, the gut-brain axis, and the neural system. It's a very beautifully orchestrated system that nature has created. It constantly is getting pathogens. It upregulates different things. It dances with nature, externally, and it learns how to respond, and it gets stronger and stronger. Now, the people who are not able to handle a pathogen, it's not the pathogen. Let me repeat. It's not the pathogen coming in that is deadly to these people. It's how their immune system reacts to the pathogen. Okay? I'll repeat that. It's not the virus, because we're constantly being hit with viruses. Think about that. 30 trillion viruses, trillions of viruses. You see those little dust particles that you see? Those have viruses everywhere. They have bacteria. We're surrounded by pathogens. But we absorb it, we take it, and we respond. The systems that are not able to respond in a proper way, that overreact, the technical term is called a cytokine storm. Those are the ones where your own body overreacts and it attacks parts of its own system, giving disease, pulmonary failure, heart failure, whatever the failure is, bleeding from inside, all the horror stories you see in these movies. It's not the virus causing that. It's the fact that your immune system has been compromised. It doesn't know how to react back properly. This is the essential thing I want you to take away. There's no controversy here. Your immune system is designed to take it and come back and get stronger. Okay? That's how we're designed. Okay, so you should be confident that you have a great machinery. However, if you're under stress, if you're eating a lot of garbage foods, if you have, constant poison in the environment, dirty air, dirty water, dirty food, which is what we have today. And they don't want to talk about this. They don't want to talk about the fact that companies like Monsanto have destroyed our soil. They don't want to talk about the fact that we have 20-year-old, 30-year-old water system. Infrastructure is going down, right? They don't want to talk about the Paris Accords allows China and India to pollute. They don't want to talk about any of that. We have dirty air, dirty water, dirty food. And I'm not talking about like the food looks dirty. I'm talking about the pesticides, the chemicals in that food. And these politicians do not want to discuss any of this because they're part of the problem. So what they do is they create a fake problem and a fake solution, and they don't want people like me or you ever entering politics. They don't want me to get these signatures and get on the ballot. They don't want you having one of you fighting for them. And that's what this is about. They don't want a Donald Trump in office. Because you know what? He stands on his own 2 feet. Whether you like him or not, Donald Trump stands on his own 2 feet. He doesn't need them. I don't need them. You don't need them. And this is what bothers them. So what they're doing with this entire coronavirus scare, which is absurd, and the mainstream media, BSMSM 20 is a real virus, and BSSCI 20 is a real virus, not COVID-19. Okay? That's not the real virus. We have two real threats. It's the mainstream media and they're criminal, and these scientists and places in these major institutions who are taking advantage of this, because you know why? They get grant money. Many of them are starting these companies, spin-offs, using your money and your dollars to create vaccines. All right? That's what's actually going on. So it's time that you realize that regardless of coronavirus or not, what we need to do is, if someone gets a cold in any situation, obviously you should make sure that they have a nice environment, they're kept away from other people who could bring them. This is just basic stuff. This has gone on for thousands of years, basically making sure that they have a nice environment so they can heal if they need to heal. But more importantly, we need to take care of our own immune health. And that's what's not being talked about. I don't see anyone in the mainstream media saying, well, how do you take care of your immune health? If you talk about vitamins, if you talk about food, that's considered nonsense, right? They want you to get into vaccines, vaccines, vaccines. All you hear is flu shot. Well, the reality is none of the data shows that the flu shot actually even works. In fact, most of the data shows that the flu shot is not efficacious. But for big pharma companies, vaccines have become high profit, no liability. Let me repeat that. High profit, even their pharmaceutical drugs have high liability and you and I can sue them. But when it comes to vaccines, you and I cannot directly sue pharma companies. Okay? So this scare is an amazing way to put down dissent, put down you thinking on your own, and everyone on, oh my God, what is the governor going to say? What is the CDC going to say? Well, the CDC is in bed with big pharma. And by the way, only 6% of scientists are Republicans. I don't know if you knew that, okay? 10 times more of them, 60%, are Democrats. And if you think about what's going on with the divisiveness, and I'm not saying I support the Republican establishment or the Democrat establishment, but what I am telling you is definitely the Democratic establishment, along with the GOP establishment, hate Donald Trump. They want to crash the economy. They will do anything to do that because they couldn't get him on Russian collusion. They couldn't get him on impeachment. Now this is their last tactic. That is what's going on. So it's time that people WTFU, all of us, and realize that we have enough wherewithal to learn how to take care of our systems. Make sure you're eating enough foods with proper vitamin A. Make sure you're getting enough iodine. That's how controls the thyroid, which controls carotenoids into vitamin A. Make sure you're getting enough vitamin D, whether it's sunshine, whether you take it supplementally, whether you're getting it from oils. Make sure you're getting enough vitamin C. And obviously, if someone is sick, make sure they have their own framework and this is the healing process. Animals do it, we do it. This is common sense. But imposing this top-down thing, crashing the economy, that's what Bill Maher wanted to do. That's what most of these academics want to do because they hate Donald Trump and they hate you, the American people, that you made up your own minds for who you wanted and you said F you to the establishment. That is where we are at today. The two main threats to the American people and Donald Trump, you and I, is not COVID-19. That's not what it is. It's BSMSM 20 and it's BSSCI 20. So think about that. And by the way, all of you listening out there, the U.S. Senate race in Massachusetts is really for you. I don't need to do this. As I mentioned to you, I've done very well in many other things, but I'm doing this because I see the utter disgrace that's going on in this country. But it's really up to you. Do you want leaders who are lawyers, who create problems, or do you want someone like me, someone like you, to get in there and fight for you every day? This is really about you. And, I'm out there collecting these signatures. People like Richard, a sanitation worker. Many of our people are all working people. We don't pay people to get signatures. In Massachusetts, the GOP establishment, run by Charlie Baker and Bill Weld, two Republicans, who have endorsed Joe Kennedy, okay, who is the nephew of Bobby Kennedy, who quote unquote is supposedly fighting against vaccines, but he's endorsed Hillary Clinton. He's a fake fighter. That's what we have. We have controlled opposition and collusion. They don't want people like you and I in governance. But you know what? In 2020, in November 2020, everyone here should make sure that Shiva for Senate wins, not for me, but for you. It's up to you. We are in a very dangerous situation in this country when we have when we start outsourcing our decision making to the MSM, the bullshit MSM, BSMSM 20 or BSMSM science. It's your choice. Choose wisely because this is your future. It's our future. No more lawyers, no more lobbyists, no more academics. Working people should be running government because we actually work for a living. They don't. Anyway, I hope this has been helpful. This is Dr. Shiva for Senate. We got to get up tomorrow and collect more signatures. If you want to help our campaign, you can go donate online. You can come help our volunteers online, or you can come here. You're welcome to come here, help us collect signatures, help us be on the ground. We must win in 2020 in Massachusetts. Having one U.S. Senator like myself for the next 6 years is going to have a huge effect for this country. You deserve that. I deserve that. Everyone deserves that. Thank you, everyone. Again, this is Dr. Shiva, Shiva for Senate. Be well.